Welcome back to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. I'm Violet Hausthor, joined this week by Mark Ramone and our special guest, Dylan Healy from Funnybone Records. You just heard Need Some Sun by Racktom. Before that, Idolizing by Greetings featuring Niamh. And starting off that block, Here's to You by Mild Monk. Let's start off with Mild Monk. Grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut, but now out in California.
This would be a great soundtrack entry, I think. Some movie like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's nice and slow. It's got a nice steady beat.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I can see some really interesting influences from a lot of different places. Like, it's folky, it's alternative, it's got that style to it, but I can see just these roots in all sorts of other genres as well. So what was the process of working with Mild Monk like? Because this is such a fascinating track.
Mild Monk and I started kind of working together while they were still living in West Hartford, and that made for kind of like planning things out a lot easier. But when they moved to the Bay Area, specifically San Jose in California, we started kind of just this like remote kind of collaborative working friendship. And they would just send me songs that they were working on. And when they sent Here's to You, which is kind of like an ode to Henry's parents, it just immediately like instantly warmed me from like head to toe. And I knew that this would make for such a good single. Yeah, it kind of followed a previous single called Kindness, which has a really similar warmth. But this one is a moment where just like at the end when everything opens up, the drums come in. Yeah, it just feels like a really sunny day. And I totally know what you mean, Mark, about that eternal sunshine kind of like moment that it feels. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, and it's so kind. I don't know. I haven't been able to describe music as kind very often. It's not a script I usually use, but I think we found one.
I agree. Yeah, it's super genuine and feels like a warm embrace.
And then we had Greetings with Idolizing featuring Niamh. Love Niamh's work. I just featured one of Niamh's songs a couple of weeks ago on my playlist. Very talented, and this song kind of brings it to a different level. It shows their comfort level and talent. There's a wide range.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in this one. They're out of a lot of different places, sort of Northampton, Massachusetts, and Hartford, Connecticut area. So what is the process of Greetings like? They're kind of a super group, so to speak, of local music, right? They've got like folks from Donny Alexander, Fat Astronaut, King Bongo, Mantis.
I'll never forget the first time that I ever saw Greetings perform live. It was their first show ever. And it was for a summer like Funnybone Records showcase that I was hosting at the Farmington Valley Arts Center. And there was something like mystical in the air about like them all kind of like coming onto stage. All of these people who like were staples in the Hartford music scene were all coming together for what felt like a really legendary performance. And it like totally was. Everyone was like floored that night. And it was shocking that that was their first performance because it felt like this group had been playing together for years. And since then, it's neat. We always kind of joke like every Greetings show is different. There's not a single Greetings show that's been the same. And that's mostly because with so many people, it's hard to get everybody in the same room. And as a result, like every show kind of has a different iteration of members. Daniel Carr, the frontman, is always the consistent person in that, but sometimes they'll have like a trio. It'll be like Danny, like Clara and Tommy, or maybe it'll be Cody from King Bongo on drums and somebody else on bass. But it's always this kind of rotating cast of like these insanely talented musicians who span all of these different bands. So yeah, it's this real kind of like legendary kind of mystical experience to see Greetings live. Lately, they've kind of been like a little more geographically fractured. Donnie Alexander recently moved to Missouri. He's going to be pursuing his own music as Matthew Alexander, and Mantis no longer really plays anymore. But yeah, with Niamh and our friend Eugene, and Clara, Tommy, Cody, and Daniel, like any chance I get to see any iteration or combination of those people on stage is a real treat.
Absolutely, yeah. A bunch of really talented musicians all playing together can always be amazing. And of course, Daniel Carr is one of the minds behind Blind Moose Studio over in Northampton, Massachusetts. Awesome performer and producer.
Totally.
And then Racktom with Need Some Sun. Such an interesting track there. I really love how when the guitars and drums hit halfway through, it just opens the whole piece up in such a beautiful way. Really interesting track here.
This one came together for Funnybone's latest benefit compilation called Psychic Tempo, which is what we put out on our anniversary, our 5th anniversary this year, being September 15th. And I've always been like hounding Racktom to put out a song on one of these benefit comps. I was so happy that he contributed one. And this one in particular, I just find so beautiful. A lot of his music being unreleased is super like buoyant and very rhythmic and very exciting and engaging. And this is actually one of his like chillest tracks I've ever heard. It kind of just like whisks me away. And the delivery of his lyrics is pretty understated. When I read the straight text, I kind of like giggle because it's almost humorous, but he delivers it in this like really genuine kind of like lullaby type way. So this is a song that like has a lot of layers to it and is really worth like digging into.
You can let it be background music, but you shouldn't. There's more there.
Definitely.
Well, for our next block, we're going to start off with The Tines and Collarbone.